Well. Back to another one. Number 3, I believe. And this is going to be my June one. I've a little bit half assed it, like I have the others, and that will continue. Because frankly, my attention does not last that long. I'm so sorry. I can give a couple of hours and a couple of clicks, and then I'm tapped out. And I'm also. It's getting hot. That weather does not let me focus worth a goddamn. Anyways, Queer Fear Monsters Suck. Title my third one. So, often the villains or monsters in fiction are given traits of outcasts or those of minority groups in order to clear code to the rest of society what the recognizable, undesirable traits would be. Often the LGBTQIA plus people play these roles of monsters and murder in popular culture. Before it might have been, just a random stranger, and now they're like, now it's a random stranger who is a little feminine or a little too masculine in either given direction. Very strange behavior, but I do not control their antics. Horror doesn't cause the mayhem, merely puts a mirror to the violence already occurring, though I don't think it's in the direction that the media loves to play it in. Trigger warning for the queer culture topics, historical and modern representation of queer villainy, tropes, violence, and legislation against LGBTQIA plus in reality. Queer media has made surges and receding thing. Ugh. Queer media has made surges and receding in the years as popular media utilizes and represents their own queerness in various multimedia projects. From popular remake Again and Again, Interview with a Vampire, the novel, which was in 1976, and then a movie, and now the ongoing show in 2026, Hannibal, the TV show, which was a complete rewrite, though the original book and movie did have a queer character in it, but it was an obviously harmful representation and pretty cruel on top of that, and didn't make any sense even in the depiction that was put in. Carmilla, the vampire sapphic novel from 1872, Jennifer's Body, the movie, many others, and then if you look at, what's his name? He lists a whole shit ton of different movies, because there's a whole thing, like there's Rocky Horror Picture Show, Glee obviously had gay Halloween episodes, parodies, like here we go, Traditional Family Family Vampires, Out of the Coffin, Auto with Dead People, LA Zombie, Queer for Fear, Indelible 2004, Make-A-Wish, all these ones. If you look for this guy, this is the dude. He's always writing articles. He's fucking got this shit on lock. Harry M. Benshoff, but way too gay to be ignored. Has a lot of examples of queer media, and not just the stuff I focus on, because I'm a big fantasy guy. Anyways, so and then also you have to think of the media where it's been read as queer, but they didn't intend it to be queer, and like the horror stuff for that. But that's a whole other issue. I'm going to try to stick to monsters and villains in this one. Monsters exist in a space as outsiders, pariahs, and other forms from the rest of society, the others. Many pre-colonized areas, as well as ancient Greece and other global nations across the world, had an allowance or indifference towards homosexuality and queerness built in until Judeo-Christian messages were enforced through violence, resource hoarding, and other forms of colonialism. And at the realities of colonialization that has transformed horror into more than a fear of mortality, but a vehicle for media representation for what the other truly means. Monsters are also in media often becoming a source with a thin line, whether they are a romanceable target or a predator to fear is hair thin at this point. I think that's really a testament to the fact that modern day audiences do recognize that monsters and villains in these things are just queer coded or queer entirely, and thus not really a target for fear, and maybe just hot. maybe the monsters are just hot. Uh, when you're already the target for a lot of legislation that says you're the fucking worst, not really sure the teeth are that much a dissuasion. When a cop or politician can go on the news and say you should be eradicated because they're weirdos. So, the monsters and love. Horror covers a wide range of fears and fables in people's lives, brought to a fantastical level, from the contagion horror of vampires, the loss of self in werewolves, or even the cold embrace of a mermaid heralding a swift drowning or a sweet kiss. Or even the alternative where after you get the monster via bite, you become the monster via bite, kiss, or some sort of contact to shape the transference. There's a lot of things to read in, where originally the folklore for it would probably be, oh, if someone looks sick, stay away from them and don't kiss them full on the mouth because you're going to get sick too, because that's just how colds work with the transference of like airborne and bacterial things. But because there's like an inherent fear of like catching gayness or whatever they're on, that they have queerness is going to get caught the same way a cold will. And that's what these monsters are like thereby representing. Stupid. But it makes for really fun media. The role monsters have allowed for people when murder is on the table. Also means maybe you can be a boy kisser or a girl kisser. Kiss whoever you want. The punishment for homosexuality and murdering has often been a death penalty irregardless in our laws since the beginning of this colonial project in North America. And, not the 6-7 motion about it, but if you're putting kissing somebody who with consent who also likes you just because of the same gender as murder, and a lot of times you're more likely to let the murderer go, kind of feel like crazy me. Your argument's fucking bunk. While historically monsters and stories are meant to be a warning for those that deviate and face a greater risk of a narrative change, change has occurred, whereby examining the monster and giving a face and name, we've often revealed the inherent flaws and fears we face within ourselves. We see, like in Hannibal, the TV show, not the original, that the main antagonist, which is like the protagonist technically, they're like dual antagonist protagonist. Hannibal is his love is not codified as like masculine or feminine. It just is what it is, and it just happens to be mentally ill, shaking, wet in the rain detective with an empathy problem, and that's just what it is. But that by inherent logic, because of them both being men, is queer. Queerness stands at a crossroads of these fears to be the most honest version of oneself, to stand outside of the heteronormative culture that various religions and governments often maintain, and the fear of reprisal from those in social circles. Because even in movies you see the monster is usually by itself, or if it isn't, what happens is before the monsters come together, they get murked so that they can never be together. To call a fucking like Lake Placid, where they didn't realize there was two of them and they killed one of them. When they kill one of the brides and you see all the other brides of vampire flip the fuck out. Whatever you are, a monster or a man, is an unanswered question. But most certainly you're a part of the LGBTQIA in nature is not. Like those are two separate entities that exist, but they often get codified as the same entity. For some reason they're putting murder and anything LGBTQA in the same fucking category. But you know what? Monsters are fucking cool. I'm saying it. Monsters don't have to be socially acceptable. And side note, neither do anybody. It is said that when it's like, there's like a lot of myths and stuff like that, or like how to like cure a werewolf or whatever. But it's said, one of the ones I did like that I found out, it said that when someone who loves a werewolf says their name, they return to their human form. That sentiment is the shape of monster horror is taken. Because you even look at, what's it called? There's a movie called She Creature from 2001. I'm going to reference that shit a lot. I love that movie. But a woman, she's married with a man, and they end up on the boat together after stealing a mermaid that had been, like, held captive by this old dude forever. And then the human woman gets attacked, and then the mermaid, because she likes her, ends up killing the assaulter, and eventually helps her get pregnant and like seek the life they have. And there's a bunch of like very, very obviously queer moments between the two of them. Uh, so you see like part of the moments is not just the murder is part of it, but they had to the humanization of it was still like the LGBT stuff, which is very interesting when it ends up having a more positive note than I don't even know if they intended. A vampire becomes a ghost searching for love, like Interviewing a Vampire, because Anne Rice said originally that the vampires are not creatures of the undead so much as they are ghosts inhabiting their own form. And the fact that these ghosts that she's written, the thing that they seem to facsimile on and like always come back to is looking for coven or looking for a partner to share an eternity. Uh, Even if they could, kill themselves and get them out of it, a lot of them don't usually do that. They do tend to look for even an equal or at least a partner of some sort. A woman and a mermaid escaping from the harm of various men to form life between each other. She Creature 2001. And then you even see some of like the sapphic notes between Nady and Jennifer's body. And even in one of the more modern takes for Chinese Danmei is a ghostly cultivator who's grave robbing and saving lives while falling in love above social caste. But he is a necromancer for all intents and purposes. So this is not even just a North American thing. You'll find it even in Chinese, and I'm sure there's other. If I went looking for it, I'd find it. That shit is always hidden. Fear gives queer. Oftentimes, queer-coded monsters are set as the modern-day terror because of the current social mores that exist. So when you look at original folktales, you look at like Little Red Riding Hood, where the thing is don't stray from the path. But as we get into like movies and modern-day media, what the path looks like and what to fear on it becomes a little more shaped and probably more existent of the author, because oral fairy tales were like generalization of what you needed to fear, leaving the path. Werewolves, I'm gonna bet, were probably people who got bitten by rabies. Like that had to be a rabies thing. And also vampires also probably were a rabies thing since they turns into bats and wolves and shit like that. That definitely feels like more of a fear from rabies that ye olden people didn't realize that's what it is. But in modern day, since we've had so many versions on it, to subvert it or change it, you get what social and modern people feel. Folk tales warn you of danger, and the various religious entities and governments wish to find a monster in which to aim that fear at. So you'll see, what is it? Just an example. 340 million people in the USA in 2024, and only 9.3 identify as some sort of LGBTQIA, is a huge population differential. Chances are you could go ages and never run into a person openly a part of it if you're not in a major city. This makes it very easy for them to give you a villain, to give you a bad guy, because a lot of times you don't know something that's different. A lot of people will hate just irregardless because they'll assume whatever lies they were told were true. Once you know people and talk to them, share food with them, that's never really quite true, is it? And you see that a lot of times when they want to have a moment in horror media where you're no longer afraid of the bad guy, is that they share a meal or something like that. Hannibal is maybe the grossest version of it because they are still eating people. But it's very much obviously that that's his form of love. And by them sharing humans, it's like it's meant to take the fear out of it for whatever partner he's chosen to willingly choose to partake in his own villainy. And then you see it in Jennifer's body where she's like, "Oh, come and join the horror with me, horror together." And it's not that they're my god, I gotta start reading these. It's not that they're so much, again, it's not that the love is the horror, it's just the madness of folie du, some shit like that. French is not my first language. But then the fear for other people becomes when, oh, well, now there's two of them. Like Killing Eve, which was another like serial killer horror show where the serial killer main fun was a female assassin. And then the fear is that, like, by falling in love, they were both going to participate in the madness of it. Folie à deux. There we go. I think that's what it is. Villains and monsters are by design the antagonist, and while it would be just as easy to queer code the hero of the story, like they did in Killing Eve until it like subverted itself, since the narrative of the show was meant to be a romance story. By making the antagonist queer, they're able to code anything that resembles bad as the actions of the antagonist. So it's not just that the bad guy murders, but it's the bad guy also made a pass at a man at the same time. Like, people fear things all the time and are often irrationally so about them. Like, Jaws caused decades of shark fear, and he didn't intend that. He just was making what he thought would be like a like compelling thing, and something coming out of the water where you couldn't originally see it that's fucking huge is scary. Could he have made up an animal that maybe didn't exist? Probably. And he probably should, but now he gets to spend decades knowing that that's the, like, the killing of sharks and, like, the harmful effects on the ecology of the ocean have been unilaterally changed by a single movie. And queer-coded villains have intentionally done the same. They don't make them, people are enjoying them and having fun and calling themselves villains because it's funny, but when it's very not tongue-in-cheek, it's very obvious they're trying to make you hate them. The fact that we love them regardless is more of a representation of our own willingness to see past the mask of horror. A vampire is a sensual figure to seduce you from the light of society. A werewolf runs free, terrorizing the night. Jennifer's body gives power to the victims of violent assault. They have to go too far, or else the lesson you would get from it would be one of empowerment and not the punishment of a tragic end. Their fear is allowed. And it allows you to hate anything that is part of them. So say they were all in fucking pink, they would be like, oh, well, people who wear pink are evil. Which some media does that too. I don't want to get into that. So you look at the anti-homosexual attitudes as said by Harry M. Benshaw. One second. Harry M. Benshaw. Monsters in the Closet. Where is it? Boom. There we go. This is his Monsters in the Closet, Homosexuality in the Horror Film. He did this in 1997. Definitely give it a read. But here we go. In a 1984 study of anti-homosexual attitudes, it's considered a threat to the individual that someone you know, you yourself might be homosexual. Oh, maybe they're secretly a werewolf. Like, that's like, if you want to codify the fears to it. Number 2, as a threat to others. Homosexuals have often been linked to the media and child molestation, rape, and violence. And we see with the recent media and the reveals that that is not what the thing actually is. People who are predators of children, it has nothing to do with their sexuality and everything to do with the fact that they're predators of children. That's irregardless of whether they wear a wig or not. That's the dumbest shit. And then homosexuality as a threat to the community and other components of culture. Homosexuals supposedly represent the destruction of procreative nuclear family and traditional gender roles, and to use a buzz phrase, family values. See? So like an evil Mr. Hyde or the Wolfman or a gay and lesbian self inside of you might be striving to get out. Frankenstein's monster, homosexuals might run rampant across the countryside claiming innocent victims. Or mad scientists and vampires who dream of revolution in the world with scientific discovery or preternatural power. Homosexual activists strike at the very foundation of society, and the concepts of Western Judeo-Christian thought upon civil society is built. The gender binary, like, really fucking reveals this shit. Because a lot of these villains that they have are people who live both outside of it visually and in life. So by choosing to be different, they're throwing away what people think they're throwing away, what an actual family should be, which is, again, just a thin veneer of propaganda from the 1950s. Family is what you make of it. When everyone is afraid to be themselves or even like music outside the interests of the collective, then a fear that's easy to give is the monsters are often gay and predatory. It's the narrative they push despite centuries of violence against women, men, and children being perpetrated by heteronormative men for power, greed, and jealousy. If only 9.3% of the people in America are LGBTQIA+, then it stands to reason the crimes committed must be substantially low for such a population, though the crimes against it are much more substantial in the other direction. The violent crimes against trans, non-binary, and non-conforming people have increased hugely in the last couple of years, and often not even against the demographic they're aiming for, just anybody they don't like. Gay panic is a legal defense in which the perpetrator of great violence and even murder is allowed to kill a person in fear for the differences between the two. And as an aside, the fact that so many women are sent to prison for defending themselves from their abusers and that doesn't have a legal defense is just a lesson of how laws are made by the dominant class and don't take a moral view that is set for actual victims and often help violent offenders. Like, the way this is designed is working the way it's intended, which is to keep shitheads in power. Like, get that together. My final thoughts on the reality horrors versus fictional horrors. While I appreciate the queer-coded villains, I am a big Interview with a Vampire fan. Love Megan Fox's work in Jennifer's Body. I love the mermaid and she creature. I'm pulling that up. 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep bringing that up because I fucking love that shit. Please no boobs. Boom! Look at that. And she turns into a horrible monster. Women aren't allowed to usually be horrible monsters. It's my least favorite part about all this media. Like, let women be scary and weird. We are scary and weird. Like, just let it happen. Look at that. That's fun. Jeez. If I could stop seeing women with full fucking glam makeup in horror, my days will be clearer. My skin will be brighter. The modern retellings of monster fiction in media, I think you're also going to see more of it because it's happening in video games a lot. The monster girls and monster boys are being more of a romance target than anything else. Truly shows how much people are, like, how much the fucking dominant society is losing the fucking grip on this shit. And you'd probably see why they're going to start legislating that you can't have any media like this. Because they're worried of people being so enticed by being gay and scary. Crime may be down, but the violence against specific groups appear to be on the rise. Fascism and bigots reveal the true face of horror, that they could smile to your face in 1 second and then organize your extinction in both actions and legislation in the next moment. Trans people are being murdered at a double rate, with black trans women most at risk. A 93% increase in just the homicide of trans and non-gender conforming people in the last several years. Parents and guardians have handed over troubled teens and LGBTQIA children to camps that include trauma, danger, and dozens of recorded deaths since their inception, to conversion and wilderness camps with no scientific study to prove that they do in anything besides scare people and hurt them. And a lot of people end up either committing suicide or are traumatized for life, and they have to work years, decades to fix out whatever they got fucked up about them. And the amount of, like, gross things that are coming out about those stories. If I have to look at who is really monstrous and the options are drag performers reading to children in rhinestone and sequins, or grown adults murdering and mutilating people while putting in laws that require other unknown adults to view children's genitals and the new laws being put forth in schools, I don't think it takes a lot of reasoning to see that your actions are what would make a monster, not your appearance or queerness, or I guess the unforgivable crime of liking a good wig lip combo. A werewolf only appears on a full moon. A bigot roams the streets morning, noon, and night. Perhaps I have embraced my more monstrous side in these days. As the world becomes more intolerable in its forms, I too must become even more of myself. Society finds those that are no longer acceptable to be monstrous. But certainly I find that it is in their definition of monsters, then, well, monsters don't have to be socially accepted. Yeah, okay. But these are the points I'm bringing up, right? I even remember one of my teachers was telling me that I should go read Duchess of Malfi because it had werewolves in it. And it was just like, it just kind of felt like an AIDS reference because the guy was just sick. And then if I had a nickel for every time two siblings were, like, into each other in one way, shape, or form, and then you find out one of them is just, like, a woman with, who's just, like, with a strong personality, and then there's just, like, a bunch of queer shit, like, piled onto the side of it, I'd have many nickels, because I think also in Crimson Peak, the actress who played the sister was also playing as though she was in love with, holy shit, why am I blanking out on these names? Edith. She was playing as though she was a queer woman in love with Edith, but she was like boning her brother in the whole thing, and there was like a weird like sapphic thing throughout the whole issue. And then I was like, again, I brought on the werewolf thing. Don't know when they're gonna do it. Somebody needs to. The fact that when trans people often transition, they pick a new name that is more representative of the truth of who they are. If that could be like the werewolf thing, where someone then calls you by your real name and not your dead name, that'd be fucking peak media. Like, oh my god. Look, I love monster queer horror. Like, the thought, we have not explored it. Like, we're not in it yet. I want to see it get there, but they don't even let women be lesbians on television. It's still mostly dudes. Look at fucking, what's that stupid hockey one? They're like, oh yeah, they're like, oh my god, that's just hot. But when you try to have two women kissing, they're like, whoa, that's just too far. Misogyny's fucking weird. I don't understand why it's so pro. Because we could have this. You see this? We could have this. This could be ours. This could be ours. There's a manga that's gay witch and mermaid. It's got like 5 chapters, but it's worth it. It's worth it because we could have it. We could have it all. We could have evil women mermaids killing dudes. We could have that. Anyways, there's a bunch of articles I like looked up to go see like different things and like really connect to make sure what I was saying made any fucking sense. Hard to tell sometimes when you're thinking to yourself if something means anything or if it's just a great big nothing. Because I know we had lesbians in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Joss Whedon's a garbage person, but and I think he did. I think the 2 actresses did way better than what he was able to actually fucking do. There's another one I talked about, which is the criminalization in American history. It's how they talk about like sodomy was act for the punishment of crimes. It's a fine and solitary confinement as of 1796. Because they were trying to do a proportionate punishment. I don't know why having consensual sex is anyone's fucking business. Let's see. And then we have, what is this? It's just about the 20th century movement, lesbians. Got that one. Making sure I covered everything I talked about. Yeah, colonist motivations to set traceable way for so when settler colonists went to, a lot of anti-queer bias was put into a lot of places that didn't fucking have it, and now people are starting to undo it once they're realizing that shit is fucking weird. But you'll still see a lot of anti-LGBTQIA things. There's like laws that they technically still have in place. Like even Orlando has them. Because I looked it up and it said men aren't allowed to wear a dress after 4 p.m. Which, who fucking cares? Like that's a literally nothing law, and it seems to be only punished to. It's only there to punish people who are wearing dresses who are men. And after 4 p.m. is an arbitrary dateline. What the fuck is that? So before 4 p.m. it's fine. It's clearly just trying to punish people who are going out at night to clubs. See, I went through this one. The dread of difference. This was just talking about horror movies and the effective image of terror. Let's see. Because I remember I was looking at this and it was like little boys and grown men make a point of horror to look, while little girls and grown women have to cover their eyes. Mostly because the horror that men are asked to look at are like murder and beating, where women have to look at the force. They have to look at like rape, assault, mutilation, and murder. Like the things that they show women are in. Oh my god, they're so much worse. Whereas I think there was a movie where there was a woman with a vagina with teeth. And men fucking hate that movie. The tooth vagina is was it here like that phrase? If you can read that. The tooth vagina, the vagina that castrates, which is in mythology over and over and over again. Don't see it in horror movies very often. Almost like they can't bear the thought of it. Whereas the sexy vampire thing is like fucking everywhere. And then you have Aliens, which also had like a lot of like gender role exploration and stuff like that. That's what you're seeing, where it's like, obviously this is a big problem. And like American filmmakers and regular filmmakers across the world have realized it's an issue, the like patriarchal divide, and it's like becoming so the whole big scary man gets fucking murdered because he's an idiot is like the modern day trope of like dropping your fucking cell phone, and now you can't because the killer's chasing you, but you dropped your fucking keys or phone. It's so prevalent and like such a big issue that it's like brought up over and over again. Let's see, what's this one? This is the one that has a bunch of different horror queer stuff listed. And then there's, I think he mentioned there's a group that keeps track of everything. There's that. And then this is the one I definitely remember mentioning. I'm not going to bring that up because I was going to lose my track of what I was on. Anyways, the whole point is, of course, that if you look through horror and monsters in media, that the shape of it's taken, again, it used to be back in folklore, it was, hey, those people are sick, don't go near them. Hey, those people are dangerous, don't go near them. Hey, it's dangerous at night because there's no streetlights or shit like that when these stories were made. And there was no cameras or anything, and there was no way to keep monitoring them, and men are just dangerous, which is men are dangerous, and then, like, being rude to your house is dangerous, was, like, the major things. Like, don't be fucking rude. Like, the hospitality is, like, a big thing in almost every culture. But now, as we look in modern audiences, one, everybody locks their doors in, like, modern society for the most part. Like, some locations don't, but, like, for most people, they're deeply trustful and don't lock the doors. They always lock their doors. And, like, hospitality, with the rise of, like, social media and, like, going to meet somebody, has kind of gone to the wayside. You don't usually invite people to your house till you well know them. So our horrors don't have that. But our horrors do still have monsters and stuff in it. It's very funny, because it's just essentially, what's it called? It's like the back rooms is, like, modern day fears of placelessness and never having anything. You're just fucking trapped in an endless loop of hallways of nothing, because modern, like, kids, because it was invented in 2016 or whatever, no, they're going nowhere because the world has been ruined. So they're having to explore and live in a damaged society. But when you look at, like, the monster horror and, like, homosexuality and, like, LGBTQIA stuff that's in it, it's the nuance that's getting added to it, because people are starting to realize how monstrous what really is the real monster when you look at the full picture of, like, what society is. And they're finding that the other is maybe not the guy, that maybe they had a lot of help to get there, and the queerness is just part of them, and it's no different than someone's favorite fucking color or anything. It's just like a thing they were born with. I mean, favorite color is an eye color. So it's their eye color. It's a thing they were born with, and it had no dictation on whether they were murderers or thieves or whatever. It was just those were two aspects. Like, part of it, it's like, oh, they turned to monstrous acts, but they had a lot of fucking help getting there. And the LGBTQIA stuff of it was just like, I don't know, they like a good lip combo. Who doesn't? Like, people are starting to match their clothes and look a little better than they used to. So no one gives a fuck about that. Anyways, that was my point. Went on a long, rambling tangent. I had a focus, and then I lost the focus, and then I found the focus, and then I lost the focus. Don't know if I really made a point there. I feel like I was just talking. I've been calling these essays, but it's kind of just me yapping into yap. Mostly because my friends asked me to go and post one specific one, which I may get to, which is my NCCU joke that I've been using for years about the multiverse in our own reality. I think maybe that'll be my next one. But until then, this has been essay number 3. Queer fear. Monsters suck. One thing or another.